This is CBC Here and Now.
Tonight, few details in a homicide investigation on the Avalon.
What court documents show about a Nunavut man charged with second-degree murder.
A local collaboration wants to breathe new life into old beams.
They're 125 years old. They were installed right after the fire of 1892.
This has been a really important project for us.
Coming up on Here and Now.
Apelin are rolling, but the weather is beautiful and there's lots more where that came from.
Good evening and welcome to Here and Now. I'm Peter Cowan.
We have more details tonight on a murder that happened at a commercial rental property on Roach's Line.
Police have confirmed that a Nunavut man has been charged with second-degree murder, accused of killing another man from Nunavut. Here Now's Jeremy Eaton reports.
Court documents reveal the charge against Patrick Sularayak, second-degree murder. The 30-year-old man from Nunavut appeared in provincial court in Harbour Grace yesterday afternoon. On Tuesday night, Bay Roberts RCMP were called to a commercial rental accommodation in the community of Roach's Line and found an unresponsive man. The victim has not been named by police, but the CBC has confirmed he's also from Nunavut. He was taken to Carbonear General Hospital, where he later died. According to Sularayak's social media, he was in the province for work for the past few weeks. A spokesperson for police was unable to provide more details into what happened during the incident on Tuesday, saying the RCMP won't be doing interviews as the case is before the courts. Sularayak has been taken into police custody and no date has been set for another court appearance. Jeremy Eaton, CBC News, Roach's Line.
Well, turning now to a story that has captured national attention today, yet another tragic reminder of Canada's residential school history. A First Nation in Saskatchewan says it has evidence of 751 unmarked graves at a site of a former residential school. That school was in operation from 1899 to 1997.
This is not a mass grave site. These are unmarked graves. And we didn't remove these headstones. Removing headstones is a crime in this country. And we are treating this like a crime scene at the moment.
The Cowess's chief says oral history suggests the graves may have been marked at one time, but that representatives of the Catholic Church removed those markers decades ago. The graves are located in a known cemetery near the former Maryville Indian Residential School, about 140 kilometers east of Regina. Not all of the graves are those of children. Efforts are being made to identify everyone who's buried there and create a monument to honor them all. And we will have more on this story later on Here and Now.
The last couple of days have been absolutely gorgeous across parts of the island. We saw temperatures in the 20s for most of this week, but that is leading to a high fire risk. We've been talking about that for the past couple of days, especially the lack of rain in June. Let's take a look at that fire risk map across the province. Many areas through Central seeing extreme or high or very high hazard risk, and that is generally going to continue over the next couple of days. This is for Friday, and like I said, that lack of rain. So over the weekend rather, we're going to see a little bit of rain move into Sunday night for western portions of the island, but as we get into Monday, that's when we're going to see the best risk of some rain. Looks like at this point, early indications showing about 10 to 20 millimeters possible through Central. Much needed rain, but I will get into all of the details and the forecast when I come back.
Thanks, Ashley. The province is down to only 7 active cases of COVID-19 after going another 24 hours without a new case of the virus. 6 people have recovered, bringing down the total number. There is still 1 person being treated in hospital. Those active cases are throughout the province, 3 in the eastern region, 2 are in the area covered by Western Health, and 1 in Labrador-Grenfell. There's also 1 in Central. As for an unknown case reported in the Western Health region on June 9th, officials say it has now been traced back to the cluster in the Bay St. George area, but the source of that cluster is still under investigation. This week, the province is getting its biggest shipment of vaccines ever. Dr. Janice Fitzgerald says she wants to keep the spacing of doses to at least 8 weeks because it could give a better immune response. Rod Russell is a professor of immunology and virology at Memorial University. He says just one dose of the vaccine doesn't provide very good protection against the Delta variant. And with more supply, the province could be doing second doses sooner.
If there's another wave, it'll likely come in the fall, September, October. So the idea now is to get the second doses into people well ahead of that and make sure that we've all got a good response. Now, could you give it even less than 8 weeks? I would say 100% yes, because we know that the clinical trials, the first studies that were done on both of these vaccines were with 3 and 4 week intervals. So really, there's no reason not to give it even earlier than 8 weeks.
Now, when it comes to vaccines, is this province's approach to allowing mixing of different brands safe and effective? We'll get Rod Russell's take a little later in the show.
A longtime critic of the Muskrat Falls project is weighing in on the province's decision to dismantle Nalcor. David Vardy says government's decision was inevitable. The province announced yesterday that it will eliminate Nalcor Energy and merge its governance and contractual obligations with Newfoundland and Labrador Hydro. Nalcor was created by former Premier Danny Williams in 2007 to manage the province's energy resources. But Vardy says its legacy will be Muskrat Falls, a project that's billions over budget and behind schedule. The Public Utilities Board recommended last year that it be eliminated. The Green Report also recommends it.
It's unfortunate it has come to this, but this is an inevitable result of the fact that we built an infrastructure, public utility infrastructure, which is too large for our province and too costly. So what we now have to do is pare it down. It's got to be pared back in line with the capacity of the province and its requirements.
Police are investigating a case of arson at a pumping station in Grand Falls, Windsor. The RCMP got a report of a fire on Maloney Street at about 10:45 on Monday night. Police say the damage was extensive and the pump was inoperable as a result. An investigation determined the fire was intentionally set.
A new construction project in St. John's will have a piece of history built right into it. Historic beams from the Parish Hall Cathedral are finding new homes in another part of the city. The church is being turned into townhouses, but thanks to a three-way collaboration, the old wood will be salvaged. Here now's Henrika Wilhelm has the details.
Another truck with beams arrives at O'Brien Farm in St. John's, and these young people have their hands full unloading them. These century-old beams will get a new life. They were removed from Parish Hall, which will be turned into townhomes and donated to the O'Brien Farm.
There's so much storytelling in the materials as well, and it's something that it's really hard to get nowadays. So the price would certainly be very expensive for what we're getting, but the quality is not the same, and it doesn't have that narrative to it. What we're able to do now is tell a story with a piece of wood, and that's something that's really hard to put a price tag on.
The project wants to keep history alive by repurposing the beams for the pavilion of a new learning center.
Because we are on such a beautiful property and we want people to appreciate the connectivity between the outdoors and farming and food and cultural heritage, and doing that specifically in an indoor place didn't feel like we're really using all the resources that we had here. It's a really neat design, and it allows us to invite as many people up here as possible, and still kind of be in an outdoor setting.
Young adults employed by Impact Construction removed the beams from the Parish Hall.
There's a good story drop down below. It was really cool. You're hanging over the edge trying to get this big heavy beam up on the floor, and yeah, it was good fun, a bit of hard work for me and the guys.
All the partners involved with the project tell me about the importance of preserving history and being involved with the community.
It really helps boost, the confidence of our young people and get them some well-needed employment. This has been a really important project for us. We've had roughly 19 young people work on this project from start to finish.
It's about the history. I'm a proud Newfoundlander, and I'm proud of my province, and there's a lot of respect to be had for the construction workers back in the day that built the Parish Hall and managed to notch out all those big old heavy beams with hand tools and lay them up there.
It's much better than a landfill. It gets reused. There's a history. Those beams that we're going to be used in O'Brien's Farm have been used for 125 years. So hopefully they'll be used for another 250 years.
The project aligns with the firm's philosophy.
Being able to access building material, much like the way that the O'Briens were able to access building material from all these different places and different structures, and saving little bits from banks that were being torn down and other buildings in and out of St. John's, to me really harkens back to the spirit of the O'Brien family and what they were doing for the last 200 years.
The new learning center will consist of 2 buildings, one of them built on the remains of this old structure. They'll inform about Irish Newfoundland heritage, farming, and food culture. Construction will begin this summer, and the center is set to open its doors next spring. Henrike Wilhelm, CBC News, St. John's.
A charity that provides services for people with disabilities has completed another phase of its goal of creating an inclusive park.
A Newfoundlander born and bred, and I'll be one till I die. I'm proud to be an islander, here's the reason why.
Easter Seals celebrated last night's grand opening with lots of dancing and music by Shani Ganuk. It's the second phase of a large park being built on the property. A specialized playground has been open for a few years. Now there's a sensory garden along with a fire and barbecue area. The green space and new pavilion have also been added. The money came from the cabin lottery. The next expansion will see a hard surface area built for sports.
We have here now behind us beautiful park, pavilion, sensory gardens, grass play area, barbecue event plaza, and now, you know, we've had now for 2 years the grand opening of the Easter Seals park and playground. Arguably, it's the largest of this complex now. Even the building, the largest accessible and inclusive area and park and playground in Atlantic Canada.
The sun was literally shining on the class of 2021. After a rocky and unpredictable last year, finally, high school graduation. But Holy Heart students are ready to put those tough times in the rearview mirror behind them. Graduates were feeling very grateful today. They spoke with Here and Now's Zach Delaney.
We weren't allowed to bring any dates or anything, but we were allowed to go with our friends, so it was at least something better than nothing.
It was fun, yeah, it was better than not having any ceremony at all.
I didn't think I'd be having to, match my mask to my dress in the first part. That was pretty crazy to do.
Yeah.
Just thinking of everything, I'm grateful that we were able to kind of have an actual graduation, because I know last year a lot of people didn't have a graduation.
Having a celebration at all is a privilege.
It was
especially because
yeah.
the fact that the case is cleared up enough for us to have the ability for it
100%,
is great.
And it felt
just
so good to have something.
It's so exciting. I woke up this morning, I was so excited.
It
so
felt
happy.
so good.
Yeah.
You've just come through high school during a global pandemic. How does that feel to look back on your experiences through the school year and having gotten through it now?
Half in school, half online. It was really challenging, but made it through. A lot tougher than I would have thought it would have been, but I'm just happy to be done now.
Nice. Any plans for the summer?
Just gonna work, maybe save up, get a nice car, see what I can do when September comes and what my plans are.
My name is Andrew Hepburn, and I am a grade 12 student here at Holy Heart of Mary High School. Graduated today. Oh, it feels wonderful. What a beautiful day for it, you know? I thought yesterday I saw the rain in the forecast. Luckily it moved to yesterday, and now we're out here today. Beautiful sunny day, not too warm. Can't wait to get some pictures at the park.
Well, it's definitely been challenging, having some unknown factors thrown in there. But today, standing here, with a beautiful sunny day and the fact that we were just able to have any kind of grad ceremony, I just feel really grateful that we were able to have anything.
How was the ceremony?
It was great. It was amazing. It was a good end to a stressful, confusing year. It was nice to have normalcy and have all of the classmates back together for what seems like the last time.
To be able to have anything at all, we didn't even know if we could. So to go to the gym or the auditorium, and get to see a presentation was so cool.
It's kind of surreal.
Yeah.
But, last year, those graduates, they just had to deal with what they were given. But it's nice to have the school organize something that we could all be a part of.
Yeah.
Really nice way to end the year.
Any plans for the summer now?
Just enjoying being safe and being able to do what we want to do and
Yep.
not have to stay in our homes anymore.
And then going up to university at the end.
Well, there are not many icebergs this year, but there are whales. Take a look at this guy, or girl, I can't really tell from this distance.
No, we need Jack Lawson for that, I think. Ronald O'Toole sent us this video he recorded yesterday. The whale seems to be enjoying the day, and we're also hearing that the capelin has started to roll in some places, so that would certainly bring the whales closer to shore.
Yeah, if you're whale watching, we'd love to see your videos like this. You can send it to that email address, hereandnow.nl@cbc.ca.
Weekend is almost here. We've got some sunshine in the forecast, also some much needed rain through parts of the province, but I'll get into all the details when I come back.
Ashley's here now with a look at the weather. And Ashley, another beautiful day in St. John's. Lots of sunshine, not quite as warm as it's been though.
Yeah, it's a really great day to open up those windows and let the breeze in today. Much less humidity across the board. And because of that and that change in the wind direction, areas along the south coast are finally seeing some sunshine. Let's take a look at the webcam from Burgeo Highway. Yesterday, you couldn't see anything, socked in fog, but now some sunshine, 18 degrees, and the winds out of the west. That's a pretty important thing. Winds out of the west, 20 kilometers per hour. And you can see that there's not a whole lot going on across the island, mainly. We do have some showers and some cloud cover working their way across the big land. Southeastern portion is so beautiful, but I've added those little wind barbs there so you can see the difference in that wind direction, and note what happened in the northeast there. You can see we're starting to see that onshore flow in northeasterlies. Temperatures today earlier were beautiful. 20 degrees in St. John's, temperatures in the 20s, mid-20s through central and the west coast. But now we're sitting at 15 degrees, and that is again thanks to that wind shift. So we saw that earlier today. Temperature dropped 4 degrees very quickly as soon as those winds shifted from northwesterlies to northeasterlies today. And note the difference in temperatures from yesterday. So yesterday, this time of the day, yesterday, we were 10 degrees warmer in St. John's, 3 degrees warmer for parts of central, and then look at quite the opposite for southeastern Labrador. You're between 12 and 16 degrees warmer than what it was yesterday. So certainly a lovely afternoon, and as we head through the night tonight, not a whole lot happening across the island. We should stay clear for the most part. However, we're looking at the chance of some showers and the cloud cover sticking around for most of western and the northern portion of Labrador as we get into the early morning hours, and that will generally continue. Now, temperatures tonight, though, for the island will sit somewhere between 8 to 11, which is nice. The winds will ease as well, but under those clear skies, calm conditions, areas in low-lying areas, could sit in those mid-single digits. And then across Labrador, 18 degrees tonight for Happy Valley, Goose Bay. You should stay dry, but those winds are going to be brisk. Out of the southwest, anywhere from 40 to as much as 60 kilometers per hour as your winds tonight. Now for tomorrow, that ridge of high pressure is still dominating. It should be another gorgeous day across the island. We will see some showers and cloud cover sink a little bit further south across the big land, but overall a beautiful afternoon again, certainly for southeastern Labrador, and that will generally continue as we head through the evening hours. However, you'll note a little bit more cloud cover moving in towards the early morning hours on Saturday, and we may see a few showers develop along the west coast. Temperatures tomorrow, absolutely beautiful. Winds generally light as well, 10 to 15 kilometers per hour. Temperatures should get back into the 23, 24 degree range, and not a whole lot of humidity to speak of, but look what happens as you head towards central, back up into the mid to high 20s, 25 to 27 degrees. Going to keep those temperatures along southern areas. Again, sunshine, 19 degrees, probably a little bit further inland. You'll see those temperatures a little bit warmer as well. And then towards the west coast interior, 23, 26 degrees as your afternoon highs, and those winds out of the southwest about 20 to 40 kilometers per hour. For the northern peninsula, most of you should be sitting between 17, 18 degrees, but as you head a little bit further north, St. Anthony should see a high near 24. Those winds will be a little bit brisk, though, so southwesterly is about 30 to 50 kilometers per hour, but a beautiful day expected for both Mary's Harbour and Cartwright at 26 degrees. Similar temperatures through Makkovik and Happy Valley, Goose Bay. However, those clouds and showers will stick around for both Nain and Lab City. Your high near 20 degrees. So that's a look at the start to your weekend. The rest of the weekend looking a little wet for some areas, but I will have all those details coming up.
Thanks, Ashley. Well, as students start their summer vacation today, one school in Summerford is marking the end of this tumultuous year on a high note.
On we go, keep your head up, carry on. On we go, together we are stronger. On we go, together in our song.
Students at New World Island Academy created this song and video about the struggles and successes of the past year. It was a collaboration with musician Matthew Byrne. I spoke with him and the music teacher who drove the project, Elizabeth Pond.
On we go! On we go! Welcome to our school in this crazy time we're living.
We
created a sea shanty inspired song that just highlighted all of our students' strengths and the challenges they face this year and their overall resilience. And having Matthew kind of help lead the way creatively and just get the ball rolling and have us really truly making music.
I didn't know where it was going to go. Neither of us knew where it was going to go. We didn't know what we were going to be able to create or how we were going to be able to make it work within the restrictions. But it ended up being really fun and really fulfilling. You know, like it just ended up being really, it really gave us an opportunity to connect in a way that was really hard to do this past year.
We're student focused here, so we started with them and we went to them for our inspiration. We talked about this year, just, you know, what are you feeling? What are you thinking? You know, what can our message be? So we started brainstorming and that led the way for our lyrics. We had so many curveballs this year, so it was, you know, how are you feeling about all the change? Well, there's some frustrations. There was some sadness with missing their families from afar. With all of these COVID protocols and structures that we had to follow, it was just a very different year. So, you know, they talked to that, the whole online component, seeing your computer screens and sitting 6 feet apart and, you know, wearing the mask and the hand washing and the hand sanitizing, you know, all of those lyrics that are really in the song is really what they came forward with. And then of course we shared that with Matthew and there was a whole entire collaboration back and forth. Having him virtually come into our class was just great. The kids looked forward to it. So they were always so excited to see him.
I wrote a melody, you know, and I took all of their ideas and I kind of put it together into the verses and you know, kind of created that kind of chorus, which was kind of the linchpin of the whole thing. From the very beginning, I really wanted to get this whole idea of them overcoming this adversity as the theme. You know, I wanted them to use that, to channel that kind of energy and to kind of challenge, make it a bit of a release, you know, after a long, hard slog, you know, through a very different type of school year. I wanted them to kind of look at that and say, like, you've overcome an awful lot. Like, you've been through something that no other students have ever had to deal with. And so let's put that into a song and like, let's shout it from the rooftops that you're able to do it and you're able to come out the other end standing stronger than ever. And so I really think that we got that idea captured, and when you hear all the voices shouting it together, it's so cool.
Matthew was brilliant and just kind of put everything all together for us with pictures of all of our school students and staff, and of course the kids' vocals, which they just did wonderful at. I'm very, very proud of them. So it was just overall came together. Very proud moment. This morning, I shared the link with all of our classroom teachers, and they shared it in their classrooms. I did my rounds to say my "Have a great summer" wishes, and you know, it was on repeat, and we had it playing for the kids as they exited for the buses. So it was great. Lots of smiles and smiling eyes this morning. This year was a triumph, truly a triumph, and we rallied together. We got through every single curveball. You know, that was really what we all left with. And I think we're all, you know, standing tall and proud that we got through this year. And I think as a province for all of our schools, you know, the fact that we are to the very last day in school, you know, waving bye to your teachers and heading into summer with, you know, that we did it is just fabulous.
It is fabulous. Congratulations to all of the students who finished the school year today.
And there's something else that Matthew Byrne is excited about. He'll be back on stage for a live performance.
Yes, he has a show scheduled for July 9th at the First Light Center on Cochrane Street in St. John. So another sign that life is slowly getting back to normal.
He's been called a naysayer and a bottom feeder. Well, tonight we hear from David Vardy on what he thinks of the decision to eliminate Nalcor Energy.
When you go in to get your second shot, you might get Pfizer or Moderna. Dr. Janice Fitzgerald says you can take them interchangeably, but it's not something that has been directly studied. So how worried should people be? Well, Rod Russell is a professor of immunology and virology at Memorial University, and he's going to answer some of our questions. Thanks for joining us.
Good afternoon. Thanks for having me on.
So do you see any potential safety issues with mixing and matching these two mRNA vaccines?
No, I see no safety issues at all. Both vaccines have been safe by themselves, first and second doses. We've seen recently the heart inflammation issue, which is definitely being monitored. But with respect to changing from one to the other for first versus second dose, there's no safety issue around that. And even with the early safety data that's come out from mixing and matching AstraZeneca and RNA vaccines, it didn't look like there was any safety issues there either.
Okay, I want to get you to explain that a little more, because we haven't had any direct studies where they've been able to look at the efficacy and safety of these two. So why do you say it is safe even though we don't have that same information like we do about AstraZeneca and Pfizer, for example?
Yes, you're right. There hasn't been a study, or there are studies ongoing now, of course, but there hasn't been a study or no data released yet on safety with mixing and matching the RNA vaccine, so Pfizer with Moderna or Moderna after Pfizer. Basically, the reason I don't believe we'll have any issues with safety is because we haven't seen any or very, very few adverse reactions or events with the vaccines by themselves. So we've seen the heart inflammation issue come up recently, and that's being investigated. That's important to look at, but no one's died from that yet, and it seems to go away on its own. But of course, it's something we should look at. But as far as mixing and matching the RNA vaccines, by the time you get your second dose, your first dose is cleared from your body. So the active agent or the active ingredient in the vaccine is the RNA itself. And that'll hang around in your body for probably a week. I'm not even sure how long, but it won't be very long. The immune response will stick around, but the actual RNA that's injected is cleared from your body by natural ways within a few days or a week or so after you get the injection. So by the time you get your second shot, there's nothing left of that first shot. So there wouldn't be any reason for any interactions or incompatibilities like that.
South of the border, the Center for Disease Control is being a little more conservative. They're not recommending mixing and matching, saying you should do everything you can in order to get a second dose of the same vaccine. So why are we seeing a different recommendation there than what we're seeing from the experts here in Canada?
That's a good question. I think in the US, they're probably a little bit more careful. There's a lot more lawsuits happen in the US than happen in Canada. So it might be a liability issue. It could be an insurance recommendation. I really don't know. That's not my expertise. But I think at least here, we've been, Canada and the regulatory agencies have been very closely monitoring the safety data. NACI has had their issues with some of the controversial recommendations that have come out, but the reviewing of the safety data has always been very stringent. So I believe there's no reason to think that we can't give the Pfizer or Moderna vaccines after each other.
So when you get your second shot, any issue with the mixing and matching for you personally?
No, honestly, I'd get whichever one I could right now.
Rod Russell, I really appreciate you joining us and sharing some of your insights. Thank you.
Thanks.
Well, in other news, we have reaction tonight to the provincial government's decision to dismantle Nalcor. Here now's Terry Roberts speaks with a longtime critic of the Muskrat Falls project.
It's been a full day now since the provincial government announced that it will eliminate Nalcor and fold its operations in with Newfoundland and Labrador Hydro. Well, joining me now today to talk about that big development yesterday, Mr. David Vardy, former chairman of the Public Utilities Board, a member of the Premier's Economic Recovery Team, and I guess known in some circles as a naysayer and a bottom feeder as a founding member of the Muskrat Falls Concerned Citizens Coalition. Mr. Vardy, thank you for joining us.
Good to be here.
So, Mr. Vardy, what was your reaction to the news yesterday that Nalcor will be eliminated?
Terry, I think that this is a major step forward towards economic recovery for the province. It was one of the recommendations of the Premier's Economic Recovery Commission. Clearly, it came out of the Public Utility Board's rate mitigation hearing. It was recommended that was a way to try to reduce cost of providing electrical power service to Newfoundland and Labrador. It's unfortunate it has come to this, but this is an inevitable result of the fact that we built an infrastructure, public utility infrastructure, which is too large for our province and too costly. So what we now have to do is pare it down. It's got to be pared back in line with the capacity of the province and its requirements.
We know now Nalcor, eventually it will be no more. Do you get any satisfaction out of that?
Yeah, it's not a matter of satisfaction. I think it's a matter of reality. It's a matter of cold reality here that's set in. The cold reality is that we have built this infrastructure which is costing us a lot of money to operate. This is supposed to be a self-supporting utility. It obviously is not anymore because of the enormous costs of Muskrat Falls, which is going to require federal intervention as well as the province. So what we've got here now is a cost of operating our electrical power system in Newfoundland, which is equivalent to the cost of our education system, primary, secondary, and post-secondary. It's a huge amount of money, so what we've got to do is we've got to find a way to reduce costs. And this is just a step forward into reducing costs and creating a more realistic electrical power system for Newfoundland and Labrador.
So what we didn't hear yesterday, Mr. Vardy, is how much money the provincial government might save by eliminating Nalcor. Do you have any insight into that?
Well, I think that the Public Utilities Board hearing into rate mitigation explored this in some detail, and they produced some numbers, some very good numbers, I believe. Their consultants, the Liberty and Synapse, produced some very good numbers on what the cost savings could be. And you're looking at numbers of $50 million. By 2030, you're looking at 48, $50 million. In the immediate term, it's going to be probably less than that. But over time, as the project is finished, as Muskrat Falls is finished and is terminated and wound down, then you're going to be able to adjust the staff in order to make those savings.
So eventually the name Nalcor will fade into the history books, but in your view, what will be its legacy?
One can't help but saying that the legacy of Nalcor Energy is Muskrat Falls. And Muskrat Falls is, using the term of the Commissioner LeBlanc, was a misguided project. It was a misguided project because it was inappropriately sized, it was too big for our needs, and it's something we can't support, something we never needed in terms of we did not have the growth in demand, electrical power demand, to justify this kind of project. So I think that unfortunately Nalcor is going to be remembered for the failed Muskrat Falls project.
So Nalcor or no Nalcor, we still have to pay for Muskrat Falls. How do we manage that?
90% of the costs of Muskrat Falls are going to be capital costs, okay? So we've got to try to find a way to deal with those capital costs because we can't bear them. But the province of Newfoundland and Labrador has to take its share. We have to bear our share of the cost. But one of the things the federal government did was that they did not follow the advice of the Joint Environmental Panel, nor did the province of Newfoundland and Labrador. So the federal government has to bear their share of the cost as well, and Emera has to take their share. Emera entered into this, and they're expecting a large return. I think Emera is going to have to reconsider their stake and their investment in this project, along with the government of Canada and the government of Newfoundland and Labrador. Everybody's got to take a haircut, okay? There's got to be a haircut. There's got to be a haircut from everybody, the taxpayers, ratepayers, and the people that put the money into the project.
Mr. Vardy, thank you very much.
And thank you.
Returning now to the difficult news out of Saskatchewan today and the painful legacy of Canada's residential schools. A First Nation there says it has evidence of more than 700 unmarked graves at the site of a former residential school.
They're located in a known cemetery near the former Maryvale Indian Residential School, about 140 kilometers east of Regina, now a part of the Cowessess First Nation. CBC's Cameron McIntosh has more.
Chief Cadmus Delorme says the oral stories of Cowessess First Nation always spoke of unmarked graves here.
We know that our loved ones here, our ancestors are here.
A ground-penetrating radar search performed this month confirms it. Under those flags, neatly lined, 1 meter by 1 meter apart.
As of yesterday, we have hit 751 unmarked graves. We cannot affirm that they are all children, but there are oral stories that there are adults in this gravesite as well.
The Maryvale Indian Residential School and adjacent cemetery were run by the Catholic Church from 1886 to the 1970s.
They were putting us down as a people.
Elder Florence Sparvier is a former student and survivor of the school. She's not surprised by how this was left.
They made us believe we didn't have souls.
We have generations that may have not went to residential school, but they are feeling the first and second generation of that impact.
That drives the questions. Who's here? The band says some gravestones were removed in the 60s. Are there still records? A school document from 1936 outlines protocols to report deaths. Was it always followed? Questions leaders have been asking the government and the Catholic Church. And for non-Indigenous Canadians still stunned by the discovery of 215 graves in Kamloops, it's another confrontation with a shameful history so willfully overlooked.
This was a crime against humanity, an assault on First Nation people.
We all must put down our ignorance and accidental racism of not addressing the truth that this country has with Indigenous people.
751 stark examples are right there. They almost certainly won't be the last. Cameron McIntosh, CBC News, Winnipeg.
Still with this story, Barry Kennedy attended Maryvale Indian Residential School for more than 4 years. We're going to share part of his interview with Janella Massa of Canada tonight.
First, though, a caution to some viewers. Some of what you may find in this story is disturbing.
I had a young friend that was dragged off one night screaming, and we never ever heard from him or seen him again. His name was Brian. And, you know, generally as you go through life, you bump into other students, but this guy, my little friend, just never ever showed up. And so, you know, the work that Cowessess First Nations has taken on, you know, I take my hats off to them. This is only the tip of the iceberg. There's, you know, they're probably only at one location, and I would imagine that, you know, by the stories that, you know, were told and by our friends and the fellow students, that there is multiple locations, you know, per school, and Maryvale is no different. My heart just, it sank, right? Because when I went through and gave my affidavit, I had the representative from Canada had the courage to stand up and say he's not a credible witness. And being 5 years old, you know, I agreed with him, right? Because being 5 years old, you're not supposed to be introduced to sex. You're not supposed to be. We were introduced to rape. We were introduced to violent beatings. We were introduced to things that weren't normal with our families, with our moms and our dads. You know, and at 5 years old, you know, you can't comprehend between what's right and what's wrong. You feel bad because, you know, I want to know where Brian is.
Yeah.
Right? I really want to know. He was my friend. I woke up with him. I ate with him. I played with him. We went to sleep. You know, it just day in and day out, and then just to be gone, just to be missing, just without a goodbye, without, you know, it was heartbreaking. And this whole deal today has been heartbreaking.
Barry, I'm so sorry for everything that you went through, and what you're describing is unimaginable. And as you say, you spoke as a child about what happened to you, but you were treated, as you said, not a credible witness. In some ways, is this, I'm trying to find the word because I don't know if vindication is the right word, but at least knowing that, you know, what you said now has been proven to be true, as horrible as this discovery is. How does it feel to be able to say, you know, you should have listened to us?
Yeah. Well, first off, I mean, my heart goes out to all the families of that had children that didn't come home, right? This may be their answer. This may be the final piece to the puzzle, right? But there's still so much work that has to be done. I can just imagine the families, you know, where these their aunties or their uncles, or, you know, because this school was in operation just about 100 years. Everybody's asking, like, why is the Pope going? When is the Pope going to apologize, right? Well, you know, to me, I don't want the Pope to apologize.
What do you want?
You know, nothing from them. Right? I would like to see all them churches disappear. I'd like to see them all sold and all the money taken and given to these families.
Now, support is available for residential school survivors and those who are triggered by these new reports.
A National Indian Residential School Crisis Line has been set up. People can access those services by calling the 24-hour National Crisis Line. The number is 1-866-925-4419.
Ashley's back to look at the long range, and tomorrow is looking nice as we head into the weekend you mentioned earlier. But all of this nice weather that we've been having does come with some consequences sometimes. You were talking about the fire risks earlier in the show.
Yeah, that, and also salmon rivers being really low, seeing lots of reports of that on social media. So certainly going to need some rain, and we're going to see some rain as we head through the weekend, certainly Saturday into Sunday for parts of the province. It's probably not going to do too much, but at this point, every little bit helps. So let's take a look at that future tracker. It is going to be generally cloudy and the potential for some showers across most of the big land as we head through the day on Saturday. And by Saturday morning, looking like we'll see some increasing cloud towards the west coast and a few showers as well through the afternoon. Some cloud cover will likely spread across the province as the day goes on. And even into eastern areas, I'd say by the evening hours for the Avalon. Likely won't see some showers until Saturday afternoon for the west coast, and then potentially through central as well. The best chance of seeing the most significant showers anyway will be Monday when the actual system pushes through. And it'll keep things relatively cloudy across most of the province, and then eventually clearing out as we head into Tuesday. Likely going to see some lingering showers, though, for eastern areas by the time Tuesday morning and Tuesday afternoon rolls around, and then we should actually see some more clearing skies in behind that. But overall, temperatures are going to stay mild again on Saturday, 23 to 24 degrees from the west towards eastern areas of the island. A little bit cooler again for the northern peninsula and along the southwest, and then temperatures in the 20s across the big land. 21 to 24 degrees will be your afternoon highs on Saturday, and we're going to see similar temperatures into Sunday. Don't really move too much, a degree or two here and there, but overall looking unsettled, like I said, across the big land with the chance of showers and generally gray skies. By, say, Sunday afternoon, Sunday evening, late evening, we should probably start to see some showers possible for central and eastern Newfoundland. By then, I'm really putting that rain icon in for Monday. Tuesday's a little bit iffy at this point, but that chance of showers will still stick around at least for part of the day. 17 to 19 degrees is the afternoon highs. And then for central Newfoundland, you're looking at the similar temperatures as well as the potential for rain for both Sunday, Monday, and then as well into Tuesday. 20 degrees will be the afternoon high there. By by Tuesday for western Newfoundland, we're looking at some sunshine and 21. So you'll see your clearing skies first, and then staying unsettled across the big land. Maybe the chance of some sun peeking out both Monday and Tuesday, but overall, the best chance of seeing that sunshine will be in Lab West. Wanted to share this photo. Kayaking, beautiful, lovely night for a paddle. This was last night in St. Anthony's Harbor. Tina shared that one with us. If you have any weather photos, send them to nlphotos@cbc.ca.
A nice evening with not even wind. That's always a bonus.
Looks like liquid metal, the water. Anyways, Peter, before we finish up, you're on the vaccine beat, and I know there are a lot of people out there who recently got their first doses of the vaccine and are wondering when the availability is going to come out for the second dose. You've been looking into that. What's the situation?
Yeah, because when they first added appointments, they basically didn't have any into August, and so that was a problem because you have to wait 8 weeks from your first to your second. And so I just did some checking, and it looks like the Village Mall Yellow site now has a whole bunch of appointments available right through to the 26th of August, which means even if you got your vaccine today, there are now appointments 8 weeks into the future to be able to go in and book. So it basically means anyone should be able to book an appointment now as long as they've had their first dose, but they're going to have to wait the 8 weeks. So that's the one thing to keep in mind when you go in and check.
Okay, great information. Thanks so much, Peter.
Yeah, I'm always trying to keep an eye on it. You know,
Yeah,
everyone
you are.
wanting to go out there. And the good news is people here seem to be fairly eager about getting their doses. Most of my questions are, when can I get it? Not, should I get it? So that's a good sign.
For sure. Well, thank you everyone at home for watching tonight. Hope to see you tomorrow.
Have a good night.